In spite of Ron DeSantis calling for a statewide jury on the efficacy and practices around vaccines, narratives are still being created saying that anti-vaxxers are bad drivers, for one thing. Thankfully, people aren't simultaneously advancing new ways to capture and weaponize your health data, are they? They are. Hello there, you 6 million awakening wonders. Thanks for joining me on this voyage towards truth and freedom. Subscribe now and turn on the notification bell because, as we know, big tech and its algorithmic demons are turning against truth tellers, no matter what their headwear. In this fantastic story, hot off of Ron DeSantis announcing that there will be a statewide investigation into the efficacy and practices, potential misrepresentation around mRNA vaccines, we want to talk to you about some of the phony narratives that are being constructed. For example, people that didn't get vaccinated are probably really bad drivers. If you can make such tangential leaps, isn't this a time to be especially vigilant around data capture? Because it seems that they don't use that data in ways that are entirely linear, and I would say that they are weaponizing health data and trying to create social credit score conditions already. Let me tell you a little bit more about this crazy idea that people that aren't vaccinated are bad drivers. I'm not taking that medicine, it's not being correctly trialed. Also, whee! I don't care about trees or white lines. People who refuse to get the COVID vaccine are far more likely to get into traffic crash requiring hospitalization, a recently published study found, adding evidence to the theory that anti-vaxxers often demonstrate other kind of dangerous antisocial behavior. Now, that is obviously a narrativization to suggest that a personal choice not to take a particular medication, particularly as more and more information is revealed, and Ron DeSantis calls for a statewide jury to analyze evidence that they could have been misleading and misrepresenting the efficacy of those vaccines. You can't say, well, as we know for a fact, anti-vaxxers are antisocial. These are like extraordinary propagandizing techniques. Have you noticed that almost all media now is propagandizing, potentially from both directions? This is not just a liberal establishment modality. Possibly the right are doing it, possibly even I'm doing it. Maybe none of us are free from this tendency, but perhaps the only chance we have is by inviting discourse and conversation around issues, not leaping to conclusions, and certainly not giving the ability to garner more data to corrupt centralized forces. And as usual, when they take your data, like during the pandemic, hey, just so we can help you, have you taken that medication? Just so we can help you, we're not letting you in that venue. Just so we can help you, you're a bad driver and you shouldn't be allowed a car and we're not going to insure you. Do you see how this edges us towards a social credit score dystopia? Do you see? Let me know in the comments, let me know in the chat. We theorize that individual adults who tend to resist public health recommendations might also neglect basic road safety guidelines, the authors stated. Non-compliance isn't automatically negative. There might come a time where non-compliance is necessary. Haven't we seen the mainstream media already shift from, boo, anti-vax protesters, what's wrong with them, those idiots, they should be denied healthcare, all the way to, look at these brave Chinese protesters protesting against lockdown. Why are these people ignoring lockdown? Boo! Hey, these people are ignoring lockdown. Hooray! The only difference is the passing of time. You can't trust them. They have no moral authority. They are simply peddling whatever ideas maximize the ability of the powerful to enhance their power. Even if they don't know it yet, they know not what they do. I hope that's the answer. The study published in the American Journal of Medicine looked at data from more than 11.2 million people in Ontario, Canada, and data from 178 medical centres in the province. Of the 11.2 million people, 84% had received COVID vaccines and 16% had not as of July the 31st, 2021. Of that same group, 6,682 people needed emergency care for a serious vehicle crash during the 1 month period researchers looked at, or 200 per day. Of those traffic crash victims, 75% had gotten the jab and 25% had not, or an increased risk of 72% for the unvaccinated relative to the jab. Now that might seem like some pretty contrived mathematics, but it's essentially a pirouette around the algebra to come to the conclusion that unvaccinated people ought to be persecuted. And when you note that in January, Quebec had a plan to put significant health tax on unvaccinated people, you can see how this data is being mobilized in unique and unusual ways. So I think it's really important to spot when they say A is potentially true and therefore B, because A is probably a lie and B is probably probably tyranny. The conclusion around Quebec is drawn from a tweet from Quebec Health Minister Christian Dubé, who announced, "It's encouraging about new gains that were garnered when people thought that they were going to be heavily taxed if they didn't immediately get vaxxed." What do you want? Taxing or vaxing? Neither. Well, one of them's inevitable. In fact, both of them are inevitable. Traffic deaths surged in the United States during the pandemic, but Canada, like nearly all comparable countries, saw the opposite, the extension of a long-term trend of fewer road fatalities. There could be loads of reasons for that. That could be because across the US, people's businesses were closing down. They were experiencing despair. They knew lockdowns were being imposed on them that were ultimately unfair, that they couldn't trust Big Pharma, that they couldn't trust the government. The researchers are careful to note the studies show no causal link between vaccine hesitancy and risky driving. That means there is no link. That means it's being made up. That's an arbitrary link. That's a narrativized link. That's another way of saying propaganda. But the results may relate to a distrust of government or belief in freedom that contributes to both vaccine preferences and increased traffic risk. Man, I love me some freedom. No vaccines. Also, I'm going up on the sidewalk. Also, that old lady's getting what's coming to her. Other explanations, the researchers said, might be misconceptions of everyday risks, faith in natural protection, antipathy towards regulation, chronic poverty, exposure to misinformation, insufficient resources, or other personal beliefs. I.e., so many variables that the entire study is absolutely redundant other than its potential utility in creating erroneous, facetious narratives to damn and condemn people that it's safe to damn. It's almost like in the wake of the woke, where they've realised that you oughtn't condemn people on the basis of identity, there's a craving, a longing. We've got to still find a way of hating poor people. These people, we've got to find a way of demonising some group. Is there a group that we can legitimately condemn? Not really, not really. But could we sort of cobble together some data? Well, I suppose you would. It'd be unethical. Doesn't matter about ethics. We don't have any. This is why it's all the more concerning that we are seeing again, through the process of commerce and convenience, new technology introduced that will give centralised big tech resources, which, as you know, are deeply interpolated with political and government agencies, the ability to garner more of your data. New software from Radiant, a San Francisco-based software company that plans to roll out its AI-driven kiosk by the end of this year, will create a personalised experience for customers while helping boost restaurant sales. Well, that's good news. Or your customers. I might be a customer. Restaurant sales, well, that's got to be good for the economy. This isn't going to lead to you stealing our data and using lots of facial recognition tech to make all sorts of assumptions and prevent people getting insured, is it? According to Radiant, you'll walk up to a kiosk in a quick service restaurant and a tiny camera will scan your features, registering your height, age, gender, and mood. Depressed, sad, stuck in a dystopia. Pronouns, pissed off and angry. Instantly, it will adjust its display, selecting meal options picked just for you. How dare it? You look depressed. Here's a milkshake. Now fuck off. Let's have a look at how this technology is being presented to potential vendors.
Window displays have always been an effective way to catch the eye of passers-by.
Yeah, I love window displays. Keep talking.
Using anonymous AI facial technology, cameras attached to Radiant screens capture and count the number of passers-by, with the opportunity to see the content.
Do you see that what that's actually suggesting is there's going to be posters that are reading your gender, your age, your preferences. This is at the point that it's being offered to vendors as a way to sort of target customers, apparently with bananas. But do you see that in the wrong hands, for example, in the kind of hands that might make a connection between you not taking a certain kind of medication and being an irresponsible driver, that could be used to make all sorts of decisions and choices about not only what you might buy, but where you might go and what you might be allowed to do and not do. And also health information of yours that ought remain private.
And measure engagement behavior through the number of people that pass the screens.
Oh my God, look at those bananas.
The performance of each ad is measured using the data captured and visualized in Sitecorp by Radiant Analytics.
Data plus capitalism will lead ultimately to a sharp spike of evil, because in the end there's an obligation to use all of the data accrued to generate profits. This same data could be used to create a better, fairer, more just society, to create better diets, better conditions. But in an irresponsible culture where the maximization of profit and the increase of the power of the powerful drives every decision, ultimately this accumulation of data will not be beneficial to ordinary people.
By merging Radiant's proof of play data with the captured number of opportunity to see, impressions, dwell times, demographics, and mood data.
Dwell times and mood data. That person looks depressed. Could that be to do with the dystopia? Well, I don't know. He keeps eating those bananas.
The dashboard gives exact content campaign performance insights on a per screen and per campaign level.
The music, like sort of semi-tribal, like, hey, we're in nature. We're not in nature. We're in an open prison, and it's increasingly less open.
Sitecorp by Radiant Analytics provides unique, anonymous audience measurement.
Why does it keep saying anonymous? How come the only people that get to be anonymous are these powerful interests? Every little bit of privacy is being extracted from your life, from your masturbation habits to your personal acquisition choices, your consumer habits, your health biometrics, the shape of your face, your mood, your gender, your preferred type of weather, what kind of hat you like to wear. I like these ones. But for them, absolute anonymity. Does that seem like yet another power imbalance?
Optimize your storefront today. Contact us to schedule a demo.
What are some of the ways, though, that the data accrued through this charming tribal tech could ultimately be utilised? With little public scrutiny, the health insurance industry has joined forces with data brokers to vacuum up personal details about hundreds of millions of Americans. The companies are tracking your race, education level, TV habits, marital status, net worth. They're collecting what you post on social media, whether you're behind on your bills, whether you order online. They feed this information into complicated computer algorithms that spit out predictions about how much your healthcare could cost them. Are you a woman who recently changed your name? You could be newly married and have a pricey pregnancy pending. Or maybe you're stressed and anxious from a recent divorce. That too, the computer's models predict, may run up your medical bills. Once you know that data accrued under one pretense, often within very prescriptive and explicit conditions, can be used elsewhere, you know that this data will end up being used to the convenience of the highest bidder or the most powerful. Once you know that the state has agents deeply embedded in social media organizations and is controlling the narratives of just public discourse, you know that these relationships and conditions already exist. You know that the real tyrant that you need to be concerned about is not Vladimir Putin and whether or not he's shat himself lately, but the new tyranny afforded by this kind of technological dictatorship. Are you a woman who's purchased plus-size clothing? You're considered at risk of depression. Mental health care can be expensive. I don't think so. You've just bought those leggings. Hopefully they'll keep you cheerful, because you ain't going into no clinic. Cuddle up to your giant leggings, tubby. We sit on oceans of data, said Eric McCulley, Director of Strategic Solutions for LexisNexis Risk Solutions, which sounds like a Superman baddie. Insurers contend that they use information to spot health issues in their clients and flag them so they get the services they need. Yeah, because that's how insurance companies behave, isn't it? Oh, we've just noticed you're an insurance risk. Would you like us to insure you so we can help you down the line? Do you not know that whenever you get insurance, this is my experience, oh yeah, we'll insure you, we'll help you, your car, your house. Oh, I need you. Oh, let me just check your policy. Now, how's to say this? It's a very complicated thing. We've looked at your data and I've created a graph for you that helps to explain the complexities of your situation. So if you could just follow the advice, see you in a week. And companies like LexisNexis say the data shouldn't be used to set prices. But as a research scientist from one company told me, I can't say it hasn't happened. Because it has, and that would be lying. At a time when every week brings a new privacy scandal and worries about the misuse of personal information, patient advocates and privacy scholars say the insurance industry's data gathering runs counter to its touted and federally required allegiance to patients' medical privacy. Patient advocates warn that using unverified, error-prone, lifestyle data to make medical assumptions could lead insurers to improperly priced plans. For instance, raising rates based on false information or discriminate against anyone tagged as high cost. So in a sense, you can see how a story saying that people that didn't get vaccinated are causing car crashes while there are new investigations into the efficacy of those vaccines that were, as I recall, quite aggressively pushed, means that we oughtn't be marching open-hearted with our trousers down into the arms of data capture organisations, even if they're saying that they're ultimately going to offer us better services. There's enough evidence to suggest that these big tech platforms and data capture giants operate in coordination with the government to push an agenda that is not beneficial to anybody but themselves. But that's just what I think. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know what you think in the chat. If you enjoyed this video, have a look at either of these. Remember, turn on the notification bell because that algorithm is a dragon and it ain't your friend. And subscribe to this channel because we make 5 of these videos every single week and 2 interviews over the weekend. Good new content every day. There's a promise you can rely on. Stay free.